here we are again. I'm giving another update on the Chauvin trial because in case you guys don't want to watch it because you can't stomach it, don't worry, I'm doing it for you and I can't stomach it either. But that said, there was some really important testimony today, and I know that we have a clip of some of the most significant remarks that came from the pulmonologist. So if you want to go ahead and run that, David, and then I will talk a little bit more after.
Dr. Tobin, would using a short video that you prepared help you explain to the jurors how oxygen gets into the lungs and the body? How we take in oxygen?
Yep.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 950. Can you describe first what that is?
So here we're looking at the lungs inside a body, and we see here that you can see the windpipe up at the top, the trachea, and then that splits into the bronchial tubes. And also you can see the diaphragm down at the bottom. And when the diaphragm contracts, there will be air moving.
The jurors can't see it yet, so I'm just having you just identify.
Oh, I'm sorry, terribly sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, I'm going to offer it, Your Honor. Exhibit 950.
950 is received.
Yeah. Please proceed. We'll display it so the jurors can see it.
Okay, so now we're looking, and you can see the contraction of the diaphragm. That's the kind of pink area down at the bottom. We see air going down through the windpipe and then proceeding down to the bronchial tubes. And then it was going to continue down the bronchial tubes until it will reach out to the air sacs, which will be the alveoli. And now we're seeing that we're moving down here, and these are like the grape-like structures down at the bottom, and this is where all the action occurs. The oxygen goes across those air sacs, and also the CO2 goes across them, then it's expelled back out. So that's everything in a very rapid video.
So then what happened in the case of Mr. Floyd that relates to the shallow breathing that resulted in his low oxygen?
So there are a number of forces that led to that the size of his breath became so small. And so there are a series of forces higher up that are leading to that. And the main forces that are going to lead to the shallow breath are going to be that he's turned prone on the street, that he has the handcuffs in place combined with the street, and then that he has a knee on his neck, and then that he has a knee on his back and on his side. All of these four forces are ultimately going to result in the low tidal volume, which gives you the shallow breaths that we saw here. And so the air will not be able to reach those air sacs we just saw in the video where the oxygen is exchanged and the carbon dioxide is removed.
Yeah, so we had, all in all, there were 3 actual medical professionals that testified today. There was a pulmonologist, there was the emergency doctor that treated Floyd at the hospital, and there was also a toxicologist. There were other witnesses today too, but basically what continued was this kind of ongoing debate over what constitutes excessive force and when it's actually acceptable to use it. So just a couple of things. They're consistently throughout the trial. If you're not familiar with, they're talking about prone. Prone just means that he was laying on his stomach. Prone and supine are common medical terms that are used to demonstrate when someone is laying on their stomach or on their back, downward and downward. So that's what they're talking about there. And so what the toxicologist said, I'll talk about that a little bit first, is basically that Floyd did have methamphetamine and fentanyl in his body, but it was an amount that is consistent with somebody who is still alive, meaning that is not what killed him. As the emergency doctor also stated, it was not a heart attack that killed Floyd, but rather suffocation. And there was questions about why there were no bruises on Floyd if he was suffocated. And there were, the response was that suffocation occurs and strangulation in a lot of people in the absence of bruises because there are so many variables to account for in the context of bruising or leaving behind actual marks. The big thing, though, is that the pulmonologist said he was suffocated. He was basically strangled under the weight of Derek Chauvin's knee, across the back of his neck, and down his back. So he had all of that pressure combined with being placed in the prone position on the ground. He said at one point he thinks he went into a tonic-clonic seizure from an inability to get air. And that might have been one of the things that made them think he was still alive and moving at one particular moment in time. And he actually pinpointed in the courtroom when George Floyd took his last breath. They slowed it down, played it in slow motion. So the jury actually had to sit and watch George Floyd take his last breath in slow motion. So that was what's going on. It was a bad day for the defense today, because none of their cross-examination seemed to really be getting them anywhere or, supporting their argument in any way. And then I did find out too, we talked a little bit the other day about Eric Nelson is actually part of a large Minnesota law firm hired by the police union to defend officers who might come up against charges like these. He was not the first one who was supposed to take the case. There was another individual. That individual got sick. He was next in line because there's been a little bit of a debate among analysts that he seems like he is not well supported by his law firm. And they're like, no, he has an army of lawyers. These are the people that are helping him. But I kind of feel like at this particular moment in time, maybe none of them are really wanting to show their face on the defense for this case. But yeah, definitely a bad day for the defense. I hate to say that it's good news because it's not, but it does support the prosecution's case.
Right.
That he was indeed suffocated by Derek Chauvin and murdered.
Well, we'll continue to monitor the trial. We have one more day of testimony, and then we'll do our next update, Jennifer, on Monday. Barring the news cycle, right? I always say we don't know, but that is the plan. We will do an update. Thank you for continuing to follow this. It is really critical. I suspect that this trial will continue to go, well into next week and maybe beyond, with the litany of witnesses that they're calling. It'll be very interesting when the defense gets up. What experts are they going to call? Will Derek Chauvin testify on his own behalf? Generally speaking, not a criminal lawyer, but the little bit I know from following crime stories, a person will only testify on their own behalf if A, the feeling is they've got nothing left to lose, or B, they just really don't have much of a case. So if Chauvin doesn't testify, it'll just be interesting to see how all that plays out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because it seems to me as of right now, every witness that has come up, that they've tried to build this case that, there was reason to use the successive force, that the crowd was somehow unruly. Every expert witness they've called up thus far has refuted that. Like, they're trained to deal with these kinds of situations. There was no reason to continue to restrain him in that way after he was handcuffed prone on the ground. So I don't know. It'll be interesting if we know that if he testifies, then that he really thinks he's in big trouble.
Yeah, and we will see how all of that plays out. A little bit pause for the cause, and we're going to go on to our next segment.
All right.
Black Coffee is a hub for communities and a hub for meeting people, making friends, and understanding.
What Black Coffee is to me is a place to actually call home, a place where Black youth will feel welcomed, where Black families will come and feel like they're at home.
What we're trying to build is more than just coffee. Community is something that we do naturally. We know who's in the community, we know what the deficits are, and we're trying to fix that. We want to bring people together.
My hope is that the phrase grounded in excellence shows up everywhere and that it becomes a movement.
I'm looking forward to hanging out at Black Coffee with my friends and feeling safe.
Black Coffee to me means opportunity for people like me and my other friends and family to come here and do homework safely and hang out and stuff like that.
That is happening. It is happening.
Black Coffee Northwest is located in Shoreline, Washington, between 180th and 170th on the west side of the highway. They have amazing coffee from Africa. They have amazing merch. And don't forget to ask for the potato scones. You know, Jennifer, one of these days we're going to play the black coffee ad. We're just going to cut the camera to me, and I'm going to be eating a potato scone, and I'm not going to say anything.